All right, cyber traders, welcome on back here this Tuesday, September 21st, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, at this time of the day, welcome on back for our afternoon meeting. Great to see Patrick and Norman and Bonnie still sticking with us here at this time of the day, including Michael, loud and clear from all of our students and trial members alike live inside Cyber Group. Great to see you all and all of us joining social media today, Facebook Live and YouTube. I have to say, welcome on back. And might I say to begin as well, I appreciate all of those that had joined us earlier this morning. Typically, we do a weekly workshop called Traders Talk, which we conduct always live inside the Cyber Group room. I always say maybe a couple or three times across the calendar year. We like to promote that on social media. So we did that on YouTube Live today as well. So if you had missed out on that workshop, that special Q&A workshop, that's actually right on our YouTube channel, that being youtube.com/cybertradingu. Probably the latest video that we have up. Now, with that in mind, holy smokes, we have a lot to talk about here today. So I don't have class coming up later on today. And today is Tuesday, so we don't really have to talk about Bitcoin until tomorrow. So I can take my sweet time here. CRVS to begin, up 35+% now, obviously making a new high as we speak, on the way up to the 20,700 share iceberg order I saw at 850 just before. So easily enough, we'll put this CRVS on the watch list here for the afternoon. But to go over this trade in full from A to Z, because albeit this stock was not on the morning watch list, I mean, folks, we've been following this stock for the last 72 hours, last 48 hours, last three consecutive trading days dating back to last Friday. So, hey, if you did well on this stock yesterday, if you did well on this stock back on Friday last week, how could you not be inclined to follow this stock upon the market opening? Now, that doesn't mean that everyone should have. It's just to say that, hey, in the Cyber Group room, we work together as a team. Most of us were following the stocks on the watch list, the QS, the Uber trade, the NNVC, which we'll get to next. But, hey, this stock, as soon as we finished up Traders Talk, actually was smack in the middle of it, to be honest. I turned over to it, and literally it started to make the pop over the high of the day, this being yesterday's closing bell print price right off 617. But man, once it broke that top, the roof was blown off on this trade. So obviously made a high of the day all the way up towards like near 850, or just before it did. And now you could see it's trying to make that new push, that new high of the day. It just now topped off at 848. So, hey, we'll put this stock back on our list and hopefully this continues pushing up. I will say just after that last shake down here, we turned over to it. It was popping up to that 848 and it came back down just as fast as it had popped up there. So that actually isn't too good of a sign. So hopefully this ends up making a higher low and a new high much sooner than later. Now, like I had said before, though, our focus was also on the NNVC trade. And NNVC, we saw get halted in pre-market about 8 or 9 minutes prior to 9:30. So we really didn't follow the stock at all until actually like the end of Traders Talk, that weekly workshop that we hosted on YouTube today. I mean, right as we were finishing up Traders Talk, this was reopening up off a halt. So it finally reopened up off the halt from pre-market. Why was it halted to begin with? I'm going to check that out right now. I didn't even check the news on this stock, NNVC. It goes to show that you don't need to, know the news in order to, successfully trade the stock. But it is to say that we ended up seeing news come out this morning, NNVC, news of data for its COVID-19 vaccine, I believe. A bunch of words above my pay grade. So aside from just saying that, this stock was halted for like 3 hours, ended up reopening up just as we were finishing up Traders Talk. It got halted right away after for moving up too much too fast, a volatility halt, you could say. And then from that point, when it reopened up, man, this ended up making a continued move up. So I was saying to all of us in Traders Talk as we were finishing up, hey, is this going to pull back down to the $5.23 price that we were calling out? Or is it just going to keep moving up? So we know the answer to that. Now, I ended up jumping in on this trade off of 6. By the time this ended up retesting and breaking above 6, I was looking for the pullback initially, but I don't control this stock. So, hey, I got to learn to dance with my dance partner, so to say. Once this ended up breaking back over 6 right here, I jumped in. I left a ton of money on the table. I took like a 40-cent scalp in and out really fast. But, man, this just kept going all the way up towards an eventual high of the day, 783. Now, one of our students, Patrick, called this out a moment ago, or just discussing it, and I had said to him at this point, I don't know. I feel like the wheels may have fell off on this trade here. It ended up, slipping off, broke below 7. If you're in from 6 on some sort of under and over from there, hey, you're up 17, 18 cents. But I just think for the 86 plus million shares that this stock traded today, And prior to even, we'll say last week, it looks like a pop and drop type of move back from last week. Prior to that day, even the stock was trading an average of about 500 or less thousand shares per day. So compare that number to the 86 plus million shares this stock is trading now. I'd like to think there's a better chance of this stock being exhausted here. And if it ends up popping up, then we'll call it out again. But I think the show is over on that one. Now, full transparency. I'm in this trade QS. So we were following this stock. This stock QS QuantumScape was on our watch list leading into the market open. I'm currently in this trade right now from 23.62. Heading into the early afternoon, I was watching this top off right around 24. It was like here at the time. And I ended up going short. It was right from 80 I was short from, dropped it down to 50. I took a small profit, but I thought it was going to drop off again, so I was playing around here in this little area. I went long, I took a small loss. I went short, I took a small loss. And then finally I realized, just like I told all of us in Traders Talk earlier today, if you attended, it's to say this. The chart goes from left to right and stocks go up and down. That's as simple as it gets, right? So if it's not going to break any lower, if it's not going to break below 2350 major level that we were calling out, well, if it's not going to do that, I'd like to think it's going to go only one other way. So that's where I ended up jumping in on a long from 23.62, and man, it has paid off since. So I'm going to stay in this trade easily enough with this at the highs right now. We're going to put it on our watch list with the CRVS trade. All right, Daniel F on YouTube commenting. He's saying he shorted the QS trade also, and he got stopped out after taking profit at least. All right, cool. Yeah, 24 is the level to attempt that short from, and it's easy to say, but your opportunity was from the morning right here off the first test. I didn't take it right from there as I should have, but that was the sweet spot for the short. And then recently with it breaking back over 23.50, I jumped in. So, the thing on this trade, I'm very confident about seeing this make an afternoon run. Got a little crumb in my throat there. My apologies. But I will say this stock has resistance from the daily chart. If you go back to late June, early August time, the level I marked out, which I'm re-putting on my chart here, I had this up on my screen earlier, at $24.55, seems like a pretty strong level. It's not like a perfect, price level. Maybe it jumps above it by a couple pennies. Maybe it holds under it by a couple pennies, but roughly around 24.50 to 24.55. That certainly, seems to be a pretty big level. So I may even look to take half out coming up very shortly as we continue going through this meeting. I'll tell you folks what I end up doing if I do anything there. But for right now, easily enough, this stock looks really strong here heading into the market close. QuantumScape. All right. RJF asking about the ENSC trade, which is one that was called out. We did comment on this breakout earlier as we headed into 2 o'clock Eastern time there. But man, it ended up beginning to dump off, not just the stock itself. I'm talking about the volume. After this big spike of volume, seemingly once it reopened up from the halt, volume completely dissipated. So hey, it's up 42+%, and the stock itself hasn't totally tanked just yet. So we're going to put it on our list for right now. I was going to get to this anyway, so we'll see where this goes. If this ends up completely dumping back down, then I would say at that point, folks, you look to move on for the meantime and see if there's anything else that looks a bit better at that point. All right. What was the one from yesterday? I ended up taking off the watch list. I said that was the EDSA. And I said to you folks that if it were to break back over a particular level after we finished up the meeting, then we look to focus on it. But at the time of the meeting, I didn't think that was going to be the case. But man, that ended up proving us a bit wrong, right? That's the definition of a setup. So by the time it was 2:30, it was dumping back down pretty sharp. I said we're going to write it off for right now, but if it ends up breaking back up and over 10, then that could be worthy of the setup there. So that was my thoughts. Thankfully, it played out pretty well yesterday, this EDSA, but at least just going back to ENSC, hopeful that this ends up making a new run for us, but it wouldn't shock me if it completely dumps off. All right. All right, so I'll tell you what, otherwise, we had this crazy HLBZ stock, whatever. It ended up making a bit of a push once the market opened up, but it was so damn volatile. Just huge spread, very thin, or even like an empty order book out there, very thin liquidity across the bid and the ask. So, even though QuantumScape was pretty volatile in its own right, in my opinion, that was a much easier stock to read the order book. So it's to say that HLBZ, once the market opened up, well, it ended up pulling back made a bounce right around from like 32-ish, and then ended up making a small squeak back up to make a new high. But I mean, yeah, this stock's been through the spin cycle the last like week and a half, and even this pop and drop day two. Goes to show this stock has been a high flyer in the past, but you can't keep expecting continuations. You can't keep expecting continuation out of a stock if it's not going to give it to you. All right, so we keep the train going here, folks. RWLK, another stock from this morning, was on the morning watch list at least. Ended up making a really nice move upon the open, ended up breaking out from 150 seemingly, and then really the better move came heading into the early afternoon. Not even this run up here. I mean, this is phenomenal to see it run from like 185, broke resistance, moved up 50 cents. But to see a stock make that big of a move up and then for it to pull back, I called this out. I said, hey, worth watching it too. But I'll even tell you, I wasn't expecting this stock to make as sharp of a bounce back up from two in the way that it did. So this ended up making for a hell of an opportunity here heading into this afternoon so far. And with the stock seemingly at the highs right now, obviously I'm going to put this on our watch list here alongside the first three. That ENSC, I will say, I'm going to put that on the bottom of the watch list so far. And if that one ends up dumping off completely, then we'll pretty much take it off the list. All right, so we keep going. Folks, by the way, I will mention this, and I told you I'd get back to this trade, but I did sell 500 shares on QuantumScape at 24.49. Take the money and run. So I still got 500 shares left. I took half out. That's all. CRVS, nice bounce back up at least here, up towards 830. RKLY at the highs of the day, but again, very thin liquidity on the book. At least it goes to show 12 is a resistance for right now. I don't feel a real need to come to put that stock on the watch list just yet. The SGOC was a great call out at the time as it was being called out from 6, broke under and over 6, ended up running up $1.50 and actually more than that, up towards a high of like 770. But for right now, though, unfortunately, this stock fell back down, broke below support off of 730, 725. The liquidity doesn't scare me as much. It's just the fact that I feel like this stock is pretty exhausted right now. Hey, maybe this is EDSA from yesterday, and as soon as I finish up the meeting, it ends up breaking back up higher. But for right now, I'll keep this off the list and see what else is out there if there's anything that looks even better. Seal, another stock from earlier today, made a nice pop and run, mind you. Ended up topping off over 250. But the thing is here is that it made 2 separate false breakouts from 250. We know how big of a level that price in particular is. So with it showing more volume getting filled off of 250 on the second breakout, you would expect a higher high. You'd expect this stock to hold 250 as support and move up from there. Unfortunately, didn't get it. So right now, I mean, the stock is still very tradable in the sense of it having a penny spread, great volume on the book. Maybe it jumps up another 5 or 10 cents. Maybe I check back in with the stock at the end of it all. We'll see. PTGX, not much going on there. There's my QuantumScape. I still got 500 shares on it. Zoom back out here. LPTX looks a little flat here in the meantime. Ended up making a nice push up to make a new high of the day earlier in the afternoon, but need to see a lot more out of it here right now. All right, so we'll keep on cherry picking right now, folks. If there's anything that looks really good in terms of a trend or in terms of a familiar name, and as I say that, of course, I'm looking at Blue Apron, APRN. This stock ended up popping really nicely for us last week. I think just about this time last week, in fact. So ended up making a nice run towards like 575, 580 on that day. And then obviously the days after ended up chopping around, dumping back down a bit. 573, the high of the day back from last week on the 15th. So yeah, for right now, it seems like an interesting setup. It looks like, if anything, there's more volume being filled over the last 20, 30 minutes than really any other point in time across the day today. And in fact, a lot of that volume is coming in off that 550. A lot of buying coming in off that 550 level. So you know what? Kind of sounds like I'm selling myself. I'm putting the stock on our list, but you know what? It looks pretty good. So if this could break over 550 pretty strongly coming up, or at least in the next hour and 15, we should be looking pretty good. All right, shout out Alan. He ended up getting 47 cents altogether on LCID here, Lucid Motors. It was across 7 trades, but hey, fantastic profit from Alan. Ended up making a really nice pop once the market opened up from 24.50, really 25, but ended up making a beautiful trend from that point. Broke out higher as it made a new high of the day off of like 2660-ish, 2650, and smooth sailing since. So yeah, really nice trade. It's still up a lot so far in comparison to where it had started from. And although it's dropping back down here, this stock is extremely tradable both ways as a long mainly, and then now it's beginning to dump off from 2750 support. So, yeah, we'll see where this could lead us heading into the close right now. I mean, if anything, as support, you would want to focus on whole numbers like 27, and then if that breaks, perhaps that 2660. That was a pretty strong top throughout the morning and into the afternoon. So LCID, yeah, why not? I'll put this on our list too. This kind of leaves me to say there's a good chance I'm giving ENSC the boot because we have a good watch list already here. QS, CRVS, RWLK, Blue Apron, LCID. We got a strong watch list here, folks. Not just the number of stocks I have on the list so far. I think all of these are really, really good candidates. Life, we're familiar with it, but kind of slumping off here for right now. Uber, a little choppy here right now too, but this one, is definitely pretty strong in relation to its overall trend. Uber, also a very familiar name, for all of us, not just us inside the cyber group, remind you. But yeah, I mean, for right now, we'll put this on our list. It's holding right under that 45 level, so if it doesn't pop above 45 and run up, it'd be disappointing, but it's a really good setup. I mean, it's exactly the setup that we were watching on QS at 24 throughout the day. Just a really strong top, really strong top. So a lot of buying coming in off it. And once it rebroke the resistance here, made the better run. So, I'm hopeful to see the same in Uber. If it doesn't happen, then again, I would keep it in mind at least for tomorrow and throughout this week, the Uber trade. All right, so we keep it going. AUPH had a nice day today. How about that? That one flew under our radars for quite a bit. I saw Rich call it out heading into the early to mid afternoon, but man, this stock made a nice run from 21 up towards over 24. It is a familiar name to perhaps some of our longtime students here in Cyber Group, and we were trading this stock on and off over the last couple of months, more off than on, to be honest. But let's see. I don't think the stock is anywhere close to all-time highs. I could be wrong on that. Holy smokes. No way. I might be thinking of a different trade here. Let's see. Whoa, get a load of that. Love to have a little egg on my face with that comment. So you know what? Just jump back, make sure I'm right with that. Uh-oh. 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 What the hell is all this? Uh-oh. I don't know what the hell all of this extra data is, folks. I could be right with saying that it's not technically all time. I mean, maybe that was back from when it was an OTC stock and when it got listed on the NASDAQ, this could be the true all-time high in relation to it being listed on the NASDAQ. So, I mean, hey, either way, it's a good stock to keep on your side list going forward. I don't think it's going to make any sort of good move for us today in the next hour and 10 minutes, but hey, we'll keep it in mind for this week. Check back in with it tomorrow morning. All right, so we're just rounding up the gainer side here, folks. Bunch of kind of like lackluster stocks otherwise. BKYI, big dump off from earlier today. This was a huge bust. Stock from yesterday, I think that we were calling out at first best. BEST not doing anything here. All right, folks, let's see what we got on the losers side right now. Oh, I know why. I had to do that. There we go. A lot better. All right, so we hop over to the losers list. EDSA, top percent gainer, is now our top percent loser, down over 26% right now. You could say the same with a couple of these other trades. IPHA from this week and last. KPLT, pretty familiar name. We've been following this stock on and off. From the gap down, recovered, filled the gap to a good degree, and right now dropping off a bit. It's not shortable. Formerly SPRT, now GREE, GREE. SPRT, support.com, had that merger with this company. It was out of our price range, a few days ago. Now it's kind of within it, but yeah, not much going on right now. It's hard to borrow. Order book's very thin. If you could short IRNT, Maybe not a bad idea. Rite Aid taking a huge hit the last like week or so. I mean, of course, with the markets overall, as the market's been dropping off really since the China news came out with Evergrande. Uh, yeah, I mean, right now it's just pretty flat and very slow right now. It seems like it could be an interesting short with it being easy to borrow, but I'm going to pass on this too. All right, folks, that's all I got. That's all you got from me here today. If there's anything else that you see up, down, left, right, more than 5%, type it in the chat boards. Let me know. IDEX popped up on my Benzinga signals feed, but it's only up 3+%. Not like the best trade right now. AEI looking a little faster, perhaps up 7.5%, making a new high of the day as we speak. Perhaps recovering from the big drop off that we had back from yesterday and from the end of the week last week. You could see there. I'm not too keen on this just yet. Got a chat in Cybergroup here on BLU. Yeah, BLU is also at the high of the day. I saw that, but it's just like not up enough and trading kind of crap volume here. This is nothing compared to like what we would really want to see out of the stocks that we put on our lists. All right. Fausto flag under $2.40 for the RWLK. Eh, certainly a false breakout, unfortunately, on that. Once it popped that top, came right back down. All right, folks, I think that's just about it. I don't see any other call outs that we haven't checked out just yet. And I'll tell you, we have a really good list at this point. So I will check back in with ENSC. Uh-oh. All right, so you know what? We're going to scratch this off our list for right now. Hey, if it ends up popping back up miraculously, we'll call it out and we'll try and be there to catch it in time. But I'll tell you, between QS, CRVS, RWLK, Lucid, Uber even, and also the Blue Apron trade. All of those have great opportunities for us heading into the market close. So we'll start off on those. And folks, again, like I just said before, if there's anything else that moves, makes a pop or drop or anything else in between, we'll look to call it out, work together as a team inside our live trading room. All right. All right. So for all of us on social media, Facebook Live and YouTube, if you have yet to check out our Traders Talk workshop that we conducted live this morning, you can go right to our YouTube channel, that being youtube.com/cybertradingu. And it's probably our like last recorded video right there, the Traders Talk workshop. That's a Q&A workshop that we host in our Cybergroup trading room every Tuesday. And we ended up providing a special little treat for all of us on social media this morning, at least. But aside from that, if you're interested in continuing the audio commentary that we'll be making heading into the market close, feel more than free just to go right down on the link on the banner below to get yourself started on a small trial. All right, but for all of us there right now, like Norman, Michael, Bonnie, Alan, Jose, and everyone else otherwise, I look forward to speaking to you folks coming up pretty shortly here. Take care.